If you were one who had fun and experimented when you were younger, keep experimenting, but do it in good taste. Check out the proportions. Look at the fit. Does it still flatter how you look?
Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. I'm Miriam Goodman, your co-host.
Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village SF. I'm your co-host, Lynn Winter-Gross. Next Village SF is a nonprofit providing older adults in the Northeast neighborhood of San Francisco with support to help age in place.
If, like many of us, you spent the last 2 years in sweats or casual workout clothes, you may be more than ready to return to your closet and start wearing some of your favorite things again. You may even be willing to venture out to your favorite store or boutique and start refreshing your wardrobe. But first, consider this. You may have gained or lost weight. You may have lost an inch or two of height. Your body may have shifted around while you weren't watching. Your tastes have changed and you have aged a bit. So what to wear that is flattering, comfortable, reasonably priced, and right for your age may be confusing.
Clothes can be practical or inspirational, aristocratic or democratic. They can project fantasy, provide a disguise, and make a statement. And for some, clothes can be transformational. What does your fashion choice say about you? And what message are your clothes sending? What about your jewelry, your hairstyle, your choice of hair color, or even your makeup?
Our guest today knows a lot about clothes, fashion, and what your choices communicate. She also knows that looking good doesn't mean the same thing as trying to look younger than you are. Marsha Silberstein taught at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising for over 40 years. She is an expert on fashion trends, consumer behavior, and marketing, and understands the psychological variables that shape our clothing and fashion choices. Marsha has a background in design and sales and has traveled around the world to participate in fashion conferences, and she still works as a personal shopper. We look forward to learning a lot about all these subjects today. Marsha, welcome to Not Born Yesterday.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Marsha, we always do research for the podcast, and we found a lot of discussion about how clothing designers, fashion magazines, and shops have basically ignored the older market. The research always includes a reminder that this is a group with more spending power and more wealth than the younger trend-seeking groups, but no one seems to be designing or marketing for us. Older people want to buy new clothes, but the merchandise in shops doesn't show that. What is your feeling about that?
I think they're slowly coming around because of the baby boomers. It's sort of in their face and they have to, but it's very slow. I think that's why the personal shoppers have done so well, because they need to weed through and find what will work for the senior market, or whatever you want to call it. Although I do see, when I look at the new spring releases, I do see more wearable, non-age specific clothing, meaning more classics, more things that can be worn, and more, I think an accommodation to COVID has to do with the fit as well. People are into comfort at all ages. So that's helping the market expand, pun intended.
We recently attended a lecture on ageism issues, and during the question period afterward, the women speakers were kind of criticized for coloring their hair and accused of trying to look younger. Can you describe the difference between trying to look good and trying to obviously look younger?
Yeah, one of the things I'm constantly telling my clients is, please compare yourself to your peers. Look around at what the people that you live your life with, what they look like and how they're taking care of themselves. Don't compare yourselves to your daughters and your granddaughters. We're not there. And so we don't need to do that again. I'm not allowed to criticize people who dye their hair because this is my natural hair and I'm almost 80. So I'm not allowed to say anything to my trends. I have a few sparklers and that's it. But the women I do know who have let it go gray, their skin tones look better. I think most of them actually look younger now. So you don't try to look so young that you look silly, but you look your age, but fit and exciting for your age. And I think they get that once we start getting them dressed right.
Marsha, years ago, my friends and I said we'd never use the term age appropriate when we talked about clothes, but we've forgotten about that pledge as we've gotten older. You think there's a certain standard that older adults should aspire to as we make our clothing choices?
Well, I remember even younger thinking if there was a trend or a fad or something that we did when we were much younger, we shouldn't do it again. So you should not revisit mini skirts or high, short tops, crop tops revealing. Our shapes aren't going to look good in those things. So you shouldn't revisit the old trends. That's not to say that you can't be contemporary. Of course you can. You can shoot spots of color. You look at what some of the newer shapes are and accommodate your shape to what's going and what's new. That's possible. But going back to what was in the past, it's really a hazardous trip to take. So I don't recommend that.
It seems to me one of the advantages of getting older is you can wear what you want. We don't have to impress people like we had to when we were maybe working in an office or younger and trying to keep up with everybody in high school. Now I can wear what I want.
And a certain amount of that is true. That lovely poem about wearing purple if I want to, and the ladies with the purple hats and all those things, and the fashion books that you get with these New Yorkers wearing 85 bangle bracelets and 73 necklaces, and good for them, yes, but those women wore those things their entire life. They did not all of a sudden empty the drawer and start wearing them when they became 66, So if you were one who had fun and experimented when you were younger, keep experimenting, but do it in good taste. Check out the proportions, look at the fit. Does it still flatter how you look?
We see our women political leaders, for example, our Vice President Kamala Harris, and women in office wearing pantsuits.
Yes.
Is that the new fashion for women?
It didn't go out. What happens with pantsuits is what happens with hemlines. As hemlines go up and down, as soon as they start going back up, women go back to pants. And so what's happening, and you can see in the trend reports, the young women are pulling out the minis again. And the politician women, could you see Hillary Clinton in a mini? No, not now. So, or Kamala Harris and Jill Biden, they don't wear minis. And so pantsuits have a certain panache to them if they're done well. Again, proportion. If the jacket isn't too long and the pants aren't too wide, you have to do it in a way that has the right proportion and again, the right fit. And then, yes, I do understand why they go back to pants.
Could you talk about some of your research on the psychological feeling about fashion and clothes and what does it mean?
Well, we all feel better when we look better in our eyes, not in how it's very hard to separate how we think other people see us from how we see us. So we have a different eye. So you need to feel good to project that positive attitude. And it works if you feel frumpy, if you feel dumpy, If you're feeling low, it shows. It shows in your clothing, shows in your body language. It shows definitely in how you dress. Yes.
Let's talk about men for a minute, and how men's fashions have or have not changed. I know a number of men who like to dress like their grandsons with their baseball hats and their sweatshirts and raggedy jeans. Others decide to keep wearing their old clothes, and maybe their stomachs have gotten a little bit bigger over the last couple of years. What about men's fashions? Have they changed?
You know, men's fashion, the proportions change. So the slacks get narrower, the jeans get tighter, you know, just like women's. But the problem with the outfits you're describing, those have a place where they belong. If you're going to watch your grandson's baseball game and you're sitting on the sidelines, oh yeah, wear that t-shirt, wear the jeans, wear whatever you want. But if you're going out to dinner with friends and you're finally getting to go to a place you haven't been in a long while, well, then you can wear the jeans, but put on a cashmere sweater with it. You know, cashmere sweaters, if they're fit properly, do great things for men's tummies, you know. So well, you can make it, men can dress well with very little effort. Women have put a whole lot more effort into how they dress. And as men get older, you know, if they were so about caring how they looked before, it seems to get worse. But if they took real concern before, then they continue to. So I have a lot of gentlemen friends, husbands of friends who dress quite nattily when we go out, but it's not over the top. It's just a good looking sweater with a pair of khakis or something like that.
I sometimes think the only thing a man has to do is switch out the t-shirt for a golf shirt or something with a collar, and it makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, I think you're right. I think collars are very kind to men and women because most people wear their collars open, and the V-neck is actually the most flattering neckline. So your instincts are quite good. And again, you can take a gentleman, put a polo shirt on, press the khakis, put a good crease in them, and then tie a sweater over the shoulder, and he can look quite nice at any age.
You know, we always like to give our listeners some advice on what to do and how to use the information we're giving them. And I'm thinking right now about women I know my age who are overweight, let's say, and they wear layers, and they wear maybe a tank top and then a jacket over that and then a vest over that and big flowing pants. And I think, no, that's not working. You think that by covering yourself up, you're hiding yourself, and you're not. So do you have any advice for that? I know the one thing that someone once told me was that older people should always wear something stiff. You know, with all that flowing stuff, maybe have your collar up or something that looks like it's got weight to the fabric rather than flowing. So give us some advice, please.
Interesting. I had never heard that, but I am with you. I have a terrible time with the layers and layers and layers, because instead of making them look smaller, it's adding bulk, to be honest. I'd say the critical thing is to look at proportion. And when you buy your clothing, the ideal proportion, men, women alike, is 1/3, 2/3. So you should have perhaps a little shorter jacket, and they're thinking, oh no, my stomach will show. No, it won't. If you have a jacket that's about 4 or 5 inches longer below your waist, and then a lovely slack, then the 1/3 on top. Now you can do the opposite. You can do the 2/3 on top. This is why a tunic with a narrow slack is also flattering. One tunic, not a vest over it, not a jacket over it. And the pop of stiff color, whether it's a collar or an accessory, here's where accessories play so big a role. Great earrings or a great necklace, bring the attention to your face, not to your tummy. And so proportion and accessorizing, a pop of color, maybe a great scarf, those are things that bring the eye and the attention up to your face, not down to your tummy. So male and female alike, it works.
We've noticed that there are even mannequins now in some of the stores, especially the athletic stores, that show oversized women. Is that supposed to make people feel less intimidated about trying this stuff on or wearing it, or make people who aren't overweight feel smug? I'm not sure what the intention of making all these larger models is.
Well, it's changing the norm. It's saying this is how it is, and we acknowledge that, and we are designing for you, and we are taking care to show and represent you in the store. I don't think it affects the smaller person at all, but I think it's a huge boost to the mind of the larger person. They're seeing representation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your advice and your information. Our guest was Marsha Silberstein.
Thank you.
Today on our News You Can Use segment, we have good news and bad news. The bad news is the pandemic has seriously reduced mobility and exercise in older adults. Fitness centers, swimming pools, and dance classes have been closed, and we found ourselves eliminating errands and maybe even doing few chores, which got us outside.
The good news is that we can recover our mobility. We can start walking again and even ask a friend to join us. It's a great way to reconnect with those you haven't seen in months, and it's important to your health. So now that we know how important exercise is at any age, let's admit it's too easy to come up with excuses or reasons to postpone or just avoid exercising altogether.
It turns out there are a lot of common excuses to keep us from moving. See if any of these apply to you. Like, oh, I'm too tired, I want to rest today. Maybe I'll fall and hurt myself. I don't really like to exercise. Or I am what I am. I got this far without exercise. Oh, maybe I'm just too old. I can't move like I used to. And I don't have anybody to exercise with. I don't have the time. And hey, my heart is fine.
Okay, we hear you, but those excuses just won't work anymore. Fear of falling? The best thing you can do to prevent falls and help you to get up, if you do fall, is exercise. Moving improves your flexibility. Too tired? You're probably tired because you haven't moved enough today, and moving around will give you energy. Can't find anyone to exercise with? That's too easy. Join an online Zoom class, ask a friend to take a walk, find a movement class at a senior center.
You think you're too old? Well, the best way to keep your body young and healthy is to move it. You don't have the strength that you used to have? Well, probably not, but you can build up your strength with exercise. Exercise can slow brain deterioration, strengthen your lungs, improve your blood pressure and circulation, and will very likely improve your mood.
Find some form of exercise you like and be consistent about doing it. To stay healthy and strong, experts recommend at least 20 minutes of exercise a day. So dodge the excuses and start moving. To get back to your former fitness level, try to do a bit more than you did before the pandemic. If you walked for, let's say, 20 minutes a day then, slowly add a few more minutes to your goal and add some work with weights. This will help bring back both your stamina and your strength. Soon you'll want to stay in motion and will look forward to any activity that keeps you moving. You can dance, play a sport, or even just walk in place. The trick is to avoid calling it exercise and think of it as your daily contribution to your mental and physical health.
That's our podcast for today. Our guest was Marsha Silberstein. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds, and our engineer is Jason Dahlstedt. You can learn more about Next Village SF by going to the website, www.nextvillagesf.org. And thanks to you for listening. We'd love to hear your comments on the podcast. Please contact us at nby@nextvillagesf.org. Be well, stay strong, and remember, you weren't born yesterday. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.